How many more years can human civilization last? In order to find the answer, I examined the archives of the world's top scientists and compiled a countdown list based on different theoretical models. Over the past several decades, dates have been calculated by leading figures in mathematics, physics, biology, and even game theory. The Princeton astrophysicist Gott, through rigorous probabilistic calculations, believes that we most likely still have 5,100 years remaining. The renowned physicist Stephen Hawking issued a severe warning during his lifetime, stating that in order to sustain civilization, we may need to complete extraterrestrial migration within 100 years. Frank Fenner, the microbiologist who eradicated the smallpox virus, was concerned that, constrained by the Earth's resource-carrying capacity, human civilization could face the risk of collapse within this century. The most radical ecological perspectives have even suggested that due to chain reactions triggered by climate tipping points, the window of time left to us may be only a few years. 5,000 years, 100 years, or just a few years. Today, we are discussing data models only, not established facts. Let us use a rigorous perspective to break down these 5 survival warnings one by one and take a look at humanity's future. First, let us listen to the relatively optimistic voice from the mathematical camp. This prediction comes from the Princeton University astrophysicist Gott. He did not use a crystal ball. Instead, he employed a well-known statistical tool, the Copernican principle. The core logic of this principle is extremely simple, so simple that it becomes unsettling upon careful thought. If you know nothing at all about something, then you are most likely situated in the middle stage of its life cycle, rather than at the beginning or the end. For example, suppose you randomly go to visit a section of an ancient city wall. You do not know which year it was built, nor do you know the day it will collapse. But statistically speaking, you are most likely not seeing it on the very first day it was completed, nor on the very last second before it collapses. You are simply an ordinary observer existing somewhere in the middle of its timeline. Based on this logic, Gott assumes that humanity is not special in the universe and that Homo sapiens have existed for approximately 200,000 years so far. Gott constructed a mathematical model with a 95% confidence interval. The results show that the remaining lifespan of the human species theoretically lies between 5,100 years and 7.8 million years. Doesn't that sound like a relief? 5,100 years seems more than enough for us to squander. However, this is merely a purely mathematical exercise, and it rests on a huge assumption that no black swan events will occur in the future. He assumes that the development of our civilization is linear and predictable. However, physicists do not buy this argument. They believe that this mathematical model ignores the largest variable in the universe: technology, a double-edged sword. Next, we shift our perspective to the more severe technological camp. Nick Bostrom, director of the Future of Humanity Institute at the University of Oxford, proposed a well-known thought experiment known as the urn and balls hypothesis. He compares thousands of years of human technological inventions to drawing balls from a giant urn. In the course of history, we have drawn white balls representing progress, such as fire, the wheel, and agriculture. These have benefited us. We have also drawn grey balls representing risk, such as nuclear technology. Although it is extremely powerful, it also brings enormous danger. Fortunately, we established a set of mechanisms and barely managed to keep it under control. What Bostrom worries about most, however, is whether there is a black ball hidden in the urn. This black ball represents a technology that, once invented, cannot be rolled back and will inevitably lead to a loss of control over civilization. It might be some form of uncontrollable strong artificial intelligence, or perhaps some kind of self-replicating microscopic nanotechnology. After conducting complex risk modeling, Bostrom arrived at a specific probability. Before the year 2100, that is, within this century, the probability that humanity will face a major existential risk is approximately 19%. This means that we are engaged in a high-risk probabilistic gamble. This also explains why Mr. Stephen Hawking became so anxious in his later years. Many people may not know this, but Hawking's original prediction was that humanity had 1,000 years remaining. However, in 2017, the year before his death, he revised this warning to 100 years. Hawking's core reasoning was that the pace of technological development is exponential, while the growth of human wisdom to control technology is linear. Whether it is genetic engineering or artificial intelligence, Earth as a system has already become extremely sophisticated and fragile. His final warning was that humanity must not put all its eggs in one basket. Unless we become a multiplanetary species within 100 years, establish a base on Mars, and disperse our risks, we will be trapped on Earth as a single point, facing unknown challenges. If physicists are concerned with future technological risks, then biologists focus on present-day resources and the human body. Professor Frank Fenner, the key figure behind the eradication of the smallpox virus, proposed the well-known Petri dish theory in 2010. He argued that Earth is like a Petri dish with limited resources. When biological populations grow exponentially and reach the ceiling of available resources, what follows is often not a smooth curve, but a cliff-like adjustment of the population. He used the historically famous example of Easter Island. When the island's indigenous people cut down the very last tree, losing the resources needed to build fishing boats and houses, a once glorious civilization rapidly declined within just a few decades due to famine and internal conflict. Fenner once again warned us that if we do not change the way we consume resources, similar resource pressures could subject us to an unprecedented test within this century. Henry Gee, a senior editor at Nature and a paleontologist, delivered an even deeper blow from a genetic perspective by introducing the concept of biological debt. He pointed out that recent data indicate significant fluctuations in reproduction-related indicators for humans on a global scale. Over the past 40 years, global indicators of male reproductive activity have declined by nearly 50%. Combined with widespread changes in reproductive intentions, Gee believes this is not a simple social issue, but a natural challenge faced by a species in the course of long-term evolution. It is like a kind of invisible debt. Although we currently appear prosperous, with a population of 8 billion, at the biological level, we need to be vigilant about this slow internal decline in vitality. This kind of decline does not require an asteroid impact. It is occurring quietly at the genetic level. Finally, we must confront the most controversial viewpoint, yet also the one most capable of sounding the alarm. If everything discussed earlier concerns matters decades from now, then the ecology professor Guy McPherson has proposed a highly impactful climate chain reaction hypothesis, and the core concept he focuses on is the positive feedback mechanism. The mainstream view holds that climate change is linear and that we can adjust gradually. But McPherson argues that the climate system has a tipping point. For example, the Arctic permafrost and the seabed contain large amounts of methane stored within them. Once rising temperatures cause ice to melt, this methane will be released. The greenhouse effect of methane is dozens of times stronger than that of carbon dioxide. This in turn will cause temperatures to rise further, releasing even more methane, forming an accelerating vicious cycle. Based on this radical model, he believes the window left for humanity to reverse the climate situation may be extremely short, possibly around 2030, that is, only a few years from now. Once we cross this point, we may face global agricultural challenges and dramatic environmental upheaval. It must be emphasized here that this is currently a highly controversial, non-mainstream hypothesis in the scientific community. Most mainstream scientists believe his predictions are overly pessimistic and argue that we still have time to make corrections. However, the significance of this extreme hypothesis does not lie in its accuracy, but in its warning. It reminds us that nature's response may be far more intense than we expect. Our present stability may only be the calm before the storm. 5,000 years, 100 years, or just a few years. Gott gave us a mathematical reference. Hawking gave us a technological spur. Fenner emphasized the boundaries of resources, while McPherson sounded the environmental alarm. These predictions, spanning mathematics, physics, biology, and climate science, are like multiple swords of Damocles hanging over our heads. After hearing all this, you may feel a trace of pressure. But that was not the intention of these scientists. They are not trying to create panic, nor are they prophets. They are sentinels of human civilization. By using the harshest models to point out where the cliff is, they are doing so precisely in order to help us avoid the cliff. The greatest thing about the human species lies in our ability to revise the future. We are the only species on Earth capable of foreseeing risks and trying to change them. We invented nuclear weapons, but we also established mechanisms to control them. We damaged the environment, but we also began the journey toward carbon neutrality. The so-called survival countdown, in the face of human wisdom and unity, is nothing more than a list of problems awaiting revision. In this way, as long as we maintain reverence and act rationally, we will never draw that terrifying black ball. The future does not lie in cold offensives, but in the hands of every one of us. So you in front of the screen, do you think technology will ultimately destroy us or save us? You are welcome to leave your thoughts in the comments section.